Everyone out there, welcome back. I am sitting here with my friend Josh Ayers. He is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And I just like to bring on my friends who do great work and have a really big heart to help people. Because today we're going to talk about your total financial picture to look at when you are going through a divorce, not just the mortgage piece because it all works together. So, Josh, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. So, you and I have sat down a couple times. I know that you have just this great heart to help people, and you're not a salesperson. That's what I love about you. Never as I've sent several people to you, and nobody has ever felt pressured to buy or invest or anything, which is actually unique in your industry. So I love the fact that you have an educator heart, not just like me, but want to say a little bit about your practice and
Yeah,
people?
so I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. We're right here in the Summerville area. I've been with them for going on 5 years now, and came from education. So I was a teacher prior to this. That's where the heart of a teacher comes from. And yeah, we don't like to try to sell anything. We just try to give people the information, let them make some good decisions on their own.
Wonderful. And I love that. And that's how you work. So, so Josh, we're doing this with for our clients who a lot of times when people start thinking about divorce, they're very emotionally impacted. So emotions are high, and we don't always make the best decisions when our emotions are high. So it's important to have a team behind you
Yeah.
to help support. So how could you get involved with that
Yeah,
team?
absolutely. So having a team behind you during any major life change is always important. So, one of the big reasons people get divorced is money.
Right.
And so usually if there's a money problem before divorce, then going through it and then after the divorce, there's going to be some money issues and a lot of things you don't see. But having that team behind you, a financial advisor, your divorce attorney, your CPA, like all those are great, your estate attorney, all those are great things to have on your team helping you through that process.
Right. So that you have somebody else do all the smart stuff while you're just dealing with the emotional baggage.
Yeah.
And divorce, I've had this conversation a lot. It's not cheap. Just so you know, divorce is not cheap. But if it is the way you need to go, you've got to have somebody in your corner. So tell me, I know that one of the biggest considerations or actually impacts in a divorce for somebody's financial future besides the family home is their retirement.
Yeah, so when you're married, you're planning, or you should be planning together two incomes going towards a retirement. And even when you get into retirement, you have two social securities. Saving for kids' college, it's two incomes. And when that gets split up, your budget's gonna change. So you're gonna have less expendable income to actually save. So you're gonna need to revamp what does the future look like financially. And there's a lot of different things that happen during that divorce that can cause different retirements to be split up. And if they're not done the right way, there's some hefty tax implications to separating some of those accounts.
Oh, there are. I've seen huge tax bills where people have come to me afterwards because they didn't talk to their financial advisor. They're just in the throes of mediation and they're like, fine, I'll give her half my 401k.
Yeah.
But if they would have involved a financial advisor and their tax pro at the beginning, there are ways to structure that so they wouldn't have that big tax bill.
Yeah, I mean, great example for that, like we were just talking about. So if you take a distribution from your IRA or your 401k that's pre-tax, if you take it before 59 and a half, you're gonna pay a 10% penalty plus taxes. So, I've talked to people that were going through the divorce and right after the divorce, and they tell me they didn't do anything other than take the money out. And there's a qualified domestic relations order that can allow you to separate that money and avoid some taxes. actually pull the money out and avoid some of the 10% penalty. But that's where your divorce attorney comes in to make sure it's drawn up right, because they have to draw up that order. Your financial advisor to kind of guide you along how to do that. But yeah, you can run into some hefty tax liabilities. And then not only does this go from a emotional disaster with a divorce to now it's a financial disaster.
Right.
And yeah, it's just not something you want to do.
Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just spent half my retirement. Now I have to work longer and
Yeah.
all those kind of things. So something else, kind of taking a step backwards to the most basic financial of finances is when you go from having two incomes in one household to having two households, each having just one income, is budgeting.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest financial tool you have is your budget and your income. And like I said, you just split your income in half. Or, if you're not the breadwinner of the family, then you might have cut your income by 3/4 of what you have coming in. So definitely having a budget and realizing, what fits within your budget. Can you still send the kids to private school? Or, do we have to downgrade on the daycare? Or do we need to get rid of a car because we can't afford that anymore? Stuff like that can really affect your budget. So it's just sitting down, seeing what you got coming in as income, what's going out as outgo. And, you're going from that one house to two houses. So is the house going to be sold? Do you have the ability to pay the other person their equity of the house?
Right.
Or, in my mom's case, she said, hey, you have the house. I just want the kids in this. And we went our separate ways. But yeah, it all comes down to that. But budgeting is a huge thing. You can never out earn your bad spending or bad planning.
Right. I completely agree. And a lot of people going through divorce, I look at credit reports all day long. And when we're talking with somebody, and we're trying to help them figure out, okay, can I keep the house? Or where on earth am I going to live afterwards? I encourage people to do practice payments while they're going through the divorce of, okay, this is what this new payment's going to look like. So they can build out their budget prior. But that's also needs to include utilities, all these things. And we also see it in a lot of widowed people, widows. Income gets cut in half. And if you didn't have enough life insurance, you still have all those expenses. Expenses aren't necessarily cut in half.
I would even add to that during the process of divorce, because a lot of households, the husband takes care of this bill, the wife takes care of that bill, but they're bills that are both on there. And if they haven't developed a plan, even though, divorce is usually not a pretty thing, but you still have to communicate with that person, because what if the husband stops paying the car bill and now you've got a car being repossessed and you didn't know about it, and now you go to apply for a house and your credit score looks terrible. So even communicating on those, and you can do that through your lawyers, talk to them, who's taking care of what, because people can get spiteful. And so they may do it just to ruin your credit. But making sure that your budget shows this is what we know needs to be paid, who's responsible for paying for it between now and the final divorce.
Right.
But definitely making sure that all that type of stuff's taken care of.
Yes. And for everybody out there, tip number one, you go through a divorce, you continue to pay the bills, even if he spent the money or she spent the money. If it is on your credit, go ahead and pay the bills, handle that later. Because too many people ruin their credit score through a divorce, and you cannot get past that. You're not going to be able to buy a car. You're not going to be able to keep your house if you have terrible credit. So rule number one, don't ruin credit. Rule number two, I would say get on a budget.
Yeah. And so we talk with clients who notify us that they're going to go through a divorce, and we do the practice budget. Like, hey, start practicing putting money away for the rent, the light bill, the water bill, whatever it happens to be. But start putting that away, start practicing as if you're on your own, to make sure that when things come, because it's going to get really expensive through that process, like you said. And when it comes out at the end, the judge may order someone to pay someone else's attorney's fees, whatever it happens to be. But also look to your center of influence. So look at your family, your friends, who can help provide support during that time to help you walk financially through it. And it may be they give you money. It may be that they help provide some childcare so that you can pick up a second job or something
Right.
along those lines. But find your group of people that are going to help support you through that and lean on them, because it's a stressful time.
Absolutely. And so we look through those things and then we go to the future. So we're divorced, we're getting settled in, we're adjusting to new life, our new budget. Maybe you have alimony, maybe you have child support, maybe you have to pay those things. Who knows? But you've done all that, and now you've got to start that life over. So you got to plan now, you got to create a new plan for retirement,
Yeah.
new plan for everything. So when people are starting that new plan, what's kind of step one?
Step one is their budget. That's cannot emphasize that enough. Start with the budget. But the second part is to do a self-assessment, talk with a financial advisor, to see where do I stand? Because after the aftermath of a divorce, what do I still have in retirement accounts? What did I have to give over to a spouse? And based on that, and when then we look at your income and your expenses, and we say, well, we're at, point A, we want to get to point B, what's that path between those two? And you may be in an okay situation. You just continue to do what you're doing, saving money and, put it in the market, and it may be okay. But you may have gotten wiped out and there's nothing left and we got to start all over, and, you might be in your 50s and it's a hard road from 50 to 65 to say, hey, I want to retire at 65. I got 15 years. What can I do?
Yeah.
So do a self-evaluation of where you are after the divorce. Look at what you have budget-wise, retirement-wise, and then have your financial advisor help create a plan to get from point A to point B, and kind of see where it is. And one thing I would because my background is education,
Yeah.
so I'm always worried about
Absolutely.
education, especially for the kids. And I came out of school with $100,000 in student loans. There are still some things that you have to plan with your ex-spouse, that hopefully you're co-parenting if there's kids involved. And then, okay, who's going to take care of college expenses and education expenses, and plan those out and make sure that you've updated your beneficiaries on everything. So there's a lot of people that set them and forget them.
Yep.
And then, someone passes away and all of your stuff was still with your ex-wife was still your beneficiary. And now everything you had goes to her. And if you've started a new family or something else going on, they don't get any of what you had built. So make sure you're updating your beneficiaries, planning for the future. And Social Security looks different. Instead of 2 guaranteed Social Security incomes, you're now to 1.
Right.
And there's some different things that go on with that based on whether you remarry, whether your ex-spouse passes away prior to retirement. So if you don't remarry, or you remarry after the age of 60, then you can have some rights to a certain percentage of their Social Security. So that comes in and helps out with the retirement planning. Heaven forbid they pass away, then you actually can draw Social Security a little bit earlier on theirs, and then postpone using your Social Security so you can get a little bit more later on in life. But each scenario is different.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we look at your specific one and then make a recommendation from there.
Yes. So something I also tell all my clients is what worked for your neighbor down the street and your cousin in Ohio does not work for you. So that, again, talk to a professional about your situation and stay off Google. Just stay off Google.
Yeah. So a lot of advice you see online is provided by people who aren't licensed. If I wanted to give generic advice and provide a bunch of information for people, I would need to give up my license because there's legal repercussions to what I do.
Right.
So we have to kind of like bite our tongues when we see a lot of TikTok stuff out there that's just off the wall stuff. So yeah, every single person, every single situation is completely different because no one's in the exact same spot in their
Right.
life. No one makes the exact same money with the exact same tax consequences.
Right.
So yeah, what works for your neighbor does not work for you.
And I mean, taxes go hand in hand with all of this. So that's why not only talking to your financial advisor, but getting your tax person in, because I'm not a tax person, Josh isn't a tax person, your attorney's not a tax person. And so each of us on your divorce team, we all stay in our own lane. We have specialized trainings. So mine is my divorce certification, where I help you build a plan to keep your house or buy a house afterwards and what that's going to look like. Josh has had tons of education because I was in your seat not too long ago, well, 10 years ago, but I was in your seat a while back, and just the education that you have to do to get your licensing, then the education to get all the alphabets behind your name, and then to get just to keep your license in all of our situations. It's CE season coming up here soon.
Yes.
And we're all gonna be taking classes at night and all that kind of stuff because we're working during the day. But your professionals, they learn and they know what to do. And so Josh, Edward Jones is a great big company. Do y'all have any special tools that you plug in to help get?
So we have a planning software that we called Money Guide.
Mhm.
So we're able to put a lot of information into that, and it does our projections out to give us an idea of what is it? What do you actually have to put away
Yeah.
per month to get to that specific retirement? It allows us to throw in things like, hey, if I do have this divorce and the divorce is going to cost me 10, 15 grand, how does that affect my overall plan? Or I want to buy the new house and I need a down payment. How much is that going to affect my overall plan? So we have some good software to use, and each person uses a little bit different of it. My 20-year-old that's starting out just putting away $50 a month, not going to use it a whole lot. But someone who has a very intricate situation with a lot of different, blended families and that kind of stuff can really benefit from it.
Yep. So talk to Josh, and then we're gonna we gotta work on your wills and all that kind of stuff. But another consideration is, I don't know if we really want to touch on it, is maybe life insurance or disability insurance when you're post-divorce, if you're responsible for.
Absolutely. So anytime that someone is dependent upon your income, life insurance comes in. You're always dependent upon your income. So if something happens to you, you need disability insurance so that if you hurt your back, you can't work, and you need to be able to fund your retirement and fund the rest of your life. So you definitely need to reevaluate those. So everything that you have, go reevaluate your life insurance, your car insurance, your health insurance. All those are going to completely change because someone's either being added to yours. So if they used to be on the husband's and now they're going to be on the wife's health insurance, we've got to reevaluate that. Who's going to pay for the car insurance and who's going to have what drivers? I mean, even if it comes down to who's going to claim the kids on the tax returns. So you have to reevaluate every portion of your life and talk with someone who knows those things, and that way you can be in the right spot at the right time.
Right. So big checklist. Another thing that I would say is some people go into debt for divorce because not many people, when you get ready to go through a divorce, have 15 to 20, sometimes even $50,000 sitting in a savings account waiting for the divorce.
Yeah. So that's something because you have, at least in the state of South Carolina, you have a period of time that you have to be separated. And so if we kind of know it's coming, we see it's coming, you start to save money and you save up as much as you can, but you're already, life's already tight. People are living paycheck to paycheck. So if you do go into that debt to get out of the marriage, to go through the divorce, do your best to, one, minimize it,
Mhm.
two, minimize the interest rate on it. So, if you can get a loan from somewhere that's going to give you 10% in today's world versus a credit card that's going to charge you 30%, that can be a huge savings there. But whatever you happen to do, then talk with your financial advisor to create a plan on how do I get out of this debt? What is, how do I throw extra money at it? Where can I go into my budget? Because your financial advisor should be going through your budget with you and going, do you really need this Spotify subscription? Do you
Well, yes,
really
I
need
do.
this? What can we cut? And I always tell everyone it's a temporary thing.
Yeah,
We temporarily sacrifice so that our long-term outlook looks a lot better. And so, it's not much, but $16 a month added on to a credit card bill can save you a good bit.
yeah, absolutely. And we talk about paying off debt, don't getting in, try to avoid debt if all possible. So that may mean going through tough little struggles. You're going to cut back on things like that.
Yeah.
Um, Going through your bank accounts and seeing where those little leaks are that, I mean, we all have a subscription that we forgot we signed up
I've
for.
got an Apple one that pops up on there $1 a month and I can't figure out how to cancel it. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, there's those little things in there. But our story,
Mhm.
wife and I got married and we had $220,000 in non-mortgage debt, but go to work. You can always work a little bit more. I love Uber Eats as a job because you can turn it on, you can turn it off. I had a conversation with a client the other day, like, hey, we're in debt. Go sign up for Uber Eats. Let's find some income to boost our income temporarily.
Yeah.
Sacrifice for a little while so that the long term looks great.
Fantastic. So retirement looks different for everybody. Your financial picture looks different for everybody. You've got to find your financial advisor. If you don't have one, Josh can be a wonderful resource. I've always enjoyed my conversations with him. After my clients and friends leave him, like, oh my goodness, we love Josh. So, Josh, if somebody wanted to meet with you, they're going through this situation, or maybe they're not. Maybe if they're happily married and they're just like, oh my goodness, my finances are in shambles and we don't want to go through a divorce. So we got to fix this first. How would they get a hold of you?
So you can always Google Josh Ayers Edward Jones, and there's a link through our website to request us to reach out to you. We're right here at the Lowe's Food Shopping Center at the end of Latson Trolley in Dorchester, where it all runs in together. So you can pop by and come see us. You can always reach out to the office at 843-879-9430. But probably the easiest way, just Google my name, Josh Ayers Edward Jones, and then click the little link right there to sign up for us to call you.
Fantastic. So any other hot tips that you might have for anybody getting ready to go through this or thinking about a divorce?
Be honest with yourself with your money. Just do not try to hide something from yourself on how you spend money, how you deal with money, because this is really going, when the tide goes out, we can see who is wearing their bathing suit type deal. It's going to go out. You're going to see really where you're at. And so if you have a huge spending problem, you spend a ton of money, start evaluating that and making sure that that's not going to carry over, because you're going to take a hit. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a little while. But if you do the right steps to get yourself in the right spot, budgeting, cutting back on things unnecessary for a temporary time, it doesn't take as long as everyone thinks it does to get into a good financial situation. It takes a lot of work. It's very hard to do. It's like a diet. I know exactly how to lose weight, eat less, exercise more. It's hard to stick to that.
Yes.
So find someone, think of your financial advisor as your personal trainer that walks through that financial journey with you.
Yep. And you kind of can't afford not to have one.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody that maybe holds you accountable, somebody that will even check in with you once in a while. You don't have a financial advisor that checks in with you. I mean, what would you say, at least once a year?
Oh, absolutely. At least once a year.
Find somebody else, because you don't want, because you can't just like everybody's situation's different, your situation this year is going to be different from next year. So make sure that you have somebody who's active in helping you. All of your guides should be active in helping you. Your team should not go away. So make sure you've got that relationship, that somebody who's really going to look out for you and is going to be there for the long haul. There are some financial advisors that come into the market, realize it is real hard after that first month, and they jet out. So you don't want to be in that situation either.
And I would say, tip for people is allow your financial advisor, your lawyer, your CPA, your estate attorney, give them permission to speak with each other. Because you may not relay the information exactly right, because there's a lot of terminology in our world and things can get very complicated. And if there's one word missing, then you've communicated something completely different.
Right.
So allow those professionals to talk with each other, but make sure they're keeping you in the loop too. You don't want to just say, hey, go over there and do your thing and tell them what the results are later, but allow them to talk and put you in a better situation.
Wonderful. So, so yeah, Josh, thank you so much for coming in. We touched on a lot of things, and there's so much more to touch on. So get your mind right and go talk to somebody who can guide you. That's the most important thing, so that you can focus on your emotional side on the end, maybe even get a divorce coach or therapist on that end, but talk to your professionals that can keep you in your guide, in your lane. Make sure you make smart money choices so that post-divorce, you're not hurting worse with all the emotional baggage. You don't want to be hurting financially as well. So, Josh, thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for letting us come share information.
All right, so call Josh.